Hey everybody, and welcome to FYB Premium's live Q&A. Will Hamilton alongside Adam Szyminski. I want to take a quick second to welcome all the new members. Today is the first day of our promo. We've had a bunch of people sign up, so if you guys are watching, welcome, or to everybody watching on delay, because we obviously record these things.
Yep.
Yeah, I hope you guys like the content. Hope you participate in the Q&A, which I think
there's lots to watch.
Yeah, there is
lots
a lot
to
of
watch
stuff
if
to,
you just joined.
a lot of
people joined today, so you guys have a lot of material to get to. One other point that I want to make is that current FYB Premium members, or people who were members before today's promotion, we've gotten a couple questions. Can I switch over to the new promotional price? And I just wanted to address that real quickly. If you guys are thinking about doing it before the promotion ends on Sunday, the answer is yes, you can. One because of the way that the process is set up, we don't have access to your credit card information, and the 1 year subscription is actually a different product than the monthly subscription that you are probably on right now. So if you want to switch over, just go ahead and cancel your subscription that's running right now. And this is, again, to get into the $147 for a year promotional price. Cancel your current subscription, and then go into down at the very bottom of any page inside a Premium. There's a link to your membership information. You can click on that, and it will show you that you can now sign up for the 1 year product. And our membership software should add on your year to your current subscription. That's how that should work.
Explain exactly what that means.
So in other words, if you have been a member for a couple months now, say, and you just paid, you just got rebilled to be a member for another month, you will keep that rest of the month's access if you cancel. And then when you sign up for the 1 year product, it will be added on to the end of the month that you've already paid for. So in other words, you won't be getting double dipped on. It will add your access. So that should be taken care of.
If I got rebilled today, I'd have access through July 28th.
Correct.
But if I canceled right now, I'd still have access through the 28th.
And then a year will be added onto that.
So I'd have access to 2011, July 28th, 2000. Okay.
Correct. So if you're thinking about doing that, you're certainly welcome to. We did not obviously switch everyone over to the promotional price, even though it's cheaper, because it is for a year and it's not month by month. So you get to make that choice for yourself. If you figure you want to stay a member for a year, go ahead and lock yourself in at that low rate.
Yep.
If you don't, then you don't have to. So I think that pretty much covers that.
Yeah.
You want to move on to take some questions?
Yeah. With that in mind, let's get to the questions. If you're in the chat right now, feel free to follow up or pose whatever questions you might have. I think we were a little light this week on some of the questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
We might be hitting people on vacation time.
Yeah, maybe they're on vacation. People travel a lot for 4th of July weekend, and of course,
sure.
Also Wimbledon's going on. Maybe people are just too busy watching.
Well, we have a couple of Wimbledon. We
do. We have some
sort
Wimbledon
of have
questions
some,
that came in, absolutely.
Not even technique. It's just sort of who's going to win this match.
Well, let's take the first question, and it comes from Jay down in Texas, and he says that basically what he's saying is he hasn't seen a whole lot of serves where the ball kicks to the left. These are right-handed servers serving, and the ball then kicks to the left. So this isn't a kick serve we're talking about. It sounds more like a slice serve.
I think he's talking about at Wimbledon, he hasn't seen the men or the women use the kick serve too much.
Okay.
I think that's what he says.
Well, he says that he has not seen a serve that kicks to the left. In other words, it hooks and then kicks to the left. For a righty, that would be a slice serve, by our definition, I believe. A kick serve would bounce to the right.
A kick serve for a righty would bounce to the right. A slice serve for a righty will just continually hook.
Right.
But it's not going to, I'm trying to think from your perspective, it's going to go like this. Is that correct? I'm trying to right. From my perspective, if I'm right-handed.
If I'm thinking about hitting a serve, I'm going to hit a flat serve. That's going to have no spin on it. It's going to go down and skip off the court. If I hit a slice, it's going to hook to the left and then bounce to the left as I'm looking at my opponent's court.
From my perspective, yeah.
And if I hit a kick serve, it's going to travel up like this, and it's going to bounce, and it's going to go off to the right. Now, those are the three types of serves that I'm sort of most familiar with.
It looks like Jay is saying, I don't see this instead.
Right. He doesn't see the.
It's because you're not watching.
Slice.
You're not watching. Well, that he says
Or-
kicks. That'd be a
okay.
kick serve.
All right. I
That's
guess
good.
there's a little bit of confusion about the terminology here
Yeah.
and exactly what you're asking. So at any rate, I guess.
That would be, a lefty is going to hit that shot. So if you're not watching a lefty, you're not going to see a ball hook like this.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean, that's how my serve moves.
Right. Yes,
I
your
had-
serve can be sometimes tricky to read just because it bounces the opposite direction of everyone else's.
Yeah, that's why the lefties are difficult. Particularly, if you're a lefty watching this at the rec level, develop a kick serve because guys just
Yep.
aren't used to seeing it, and it gives people. I mean, that's why
Ton
they
of
get a lot
trouble.
of trouble.
Sure.
It's just a unique way the ball moves. Pros can handle it more because they practice that stuff.
Well, let's assume for a moment that even though seems to be a little bit of difference in terminology, that
Yeah.
Jay is actually talking about a slice serve, and because he doesn't say anything about the second or first serve here. Let's just say that he's talking about a slice serve, which would be where it hooks to the left and then bounces to the left.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why we don't see much of that at Wimbledon,
Well-
and we see more flat serves on the grass or kick serves?
Well, first of all, on the women's side, the women don't hit kick serves very often. Someone like Sam Stosur is a clear exception. Has a great kick serve.
Yep.
And if you were watching they did this with the French Open coverage when Stosur was playing Serena. They did first serve contact height and second serve contact height for Serena, and the first serve was way lower than the second serve. I mean, it was basically, I think it was somewhere around the waist and then up at shoulder height. I mean, there's several feet there because Stosur was hitting a heavy kick serve on her second serve.
Yeah.
And she's got a fantastic, a flatter serve in the first serve, but her kick serve is great.
Yeah.
So there are women who hit it. The slice is more prevalent on the women's tour. Guys.
I was going to say, I'm no expert on this, but my first inkling of an idea of why you might not see much of a slice at Wimbledon might be that the kick serve is certainly the go-to serve for the men on a second serve. Almost every second serve you see will be a kick serve.
Yeah, the men do hit with some sort of spin on it.
Right.
Some sort of kick.
And on the first, I feel like maybe the pros think it's more effective to just use a flat serve on the grass where the ball will stay lower and it's going to penetrate the faster. So that on your first serve, it may just be more effective to use a flat serve on grass than to try and put some spin on it and pull your opponent.
And keep in mind, a guy like Federer is going to hit with, he doesn't hit
Federer
flat.
doesn't hit flat
He
almost ever.
does hit a slice. I mean, one thing, or maybe have even a little topspin on there. Somebody like Pete Sampras almost never hit a flat serve. I mean, Sampras was a hybrid kind of flat kick serve.
Yep.
His first serve and second serve obviously had a ton of rotation. And that's why his first serve percentage was so high. That topspin really pulled it down into the court.
It also
And
made it easier for him to control the serve.
yeah, I mean, the guy could put his serve on a dime. I mean, he probably had the best serve ever. But Federer's got some spin on his first serve. I mean, I think the cameras, when you're watching, make it a little deceptive. It looks like the ball's not moving maybe as much as it actually is. And it's traveling so fast, it's hard to really see the curvature of the serve. Also keep in mind that these guys are taking a lot of the first serves real early.
Yeah.
They're stepping in, they're taking them early, and the ball's not going to break as much because they're trying to prevent that break.
Right.
They want the ball to move this much versus this much if
Right.
they,
Because the ball is moving so much faster on
Yeah.
the grass, they don't want it to get away from them.
Yeah. So I think the camera has something to do with it to kind of make it a little unclear because most guys, and there are certainly exceptions. A lot of players will put a little spin on the first serve to up the percentage a little bit, and they can still hit 125 miles an hour.
Right.
Federer being the clear example. You do have guys like Soderling who just get up there and just blast
Or
it.
Isner, there's
yeah.
no spin on Isner's serve. It just goes straight down
There can
and then
be,
it comes straight back up.
There can be, but a lot of times the guys will put a little something on it to not necessarily trying to get it to move, but to pull it in a little bit. So they're not trying to use that slice to pull someone wide. They're just using maybe a little bit of topspin to pull the ball into the court.
Well, so hopefully, Jay, we've covered the bases there. if we are in fact talking about a slice serve. If we're talking about a left-handed kick serve, I guess that would be a little bit different.
Yeah, no one's gonna. I mean, that would be a sort of the reverse frying pan. For
Yeah, the
a
reverse
righty,
frying pan.
which,
Who hit that serve? Who was that? Becker?
I think it was Tursunov hit.
Tursunov?
Becker, if memory serves, did hit that very frequently, where
Right.
he would do this.
Which is instead of pronating here and making contact so the ball goes there, he came through like
would go
this
like that.
on the serve so that the ball spun the opposite direction.
Whoops. Instead of going this way, he's basically coming across, going like that.
Right.
Very crazy. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. It's just
You
not
see that as sort of
necessary.
like a trick shot sometimes at the club level. Some players can
Yeah.
hit that shot. I think we answered a question maybe about that last week or a week before.
There was something similar, yeah.
So, well, let's move on to the next question then. And that comes from Christopher. My question is how the pros close the racket face to control the trajectory of a ball in the context of a topspin shot. The specific question is, how do you experiment with the trajectory of the ball by altering the racket face? Should you make contact with the racket perfectly vertical? Should you come over the ball slightly?
Yeah.
Or, do you hit above the equator of the ball, on the equator, below the equator with the racket?
So in other
what's
words,
exactly
do you
the
hit
deal
on the
there?
top? I mean, are you under it?
Right.
So the question is, are the strings, are they maybe slightly closed, slightly open? We had a question, I mean, this is basically very similar to one we had earlier.
We did. We had a question about this, I think, last week maybe.
Where essentially what you want to think about is, Chris, is simply strings flat on the back of the ball.
Right.
Let me close this. I'm going to talk this through when I pull up an appropriate video. We can just clip to it. But the
idea of coming across the top of the ball seems to me like you're going to put a lot of balls into the net.
Yeah, people are saying hit the top of the ball up here. The ball's going to go straight down in the court.
Yeah,
I mean, you hit the back of it.
Right.
Basically, there might be a tiny 1 or 2 degree.
Maybe a very tiny angle in there, but it's extremely deceptive as to whether or not pros are hitting with a flat racket face on the back of the ball or whether they're hitting slightly closed.
It's let's go to the side perspective. This is a better angle here.
We're going to look at some Red 1 footage that we shot out, some super slow-mo footage from Indian Wells.
So Fed's this thing's downloading.
We're missing, this shot is completely something.
It looks, you probably have to fix the aspect ratio, right?
Well, we'll see what happens here. All right. How about that? There we go.
Look at that. Maybe I should take over the tech duties. I got it. No, that's a bad idea. I take that back. All right, so Fed is, we're waiting for Federer to decide to hit a forehand. While this happens, let's clip back to us.
Okay,
and then,
we'll do that.
The key here is when people are trying to say, well, should I hit with topspin? That means I'm going to close my racket face,
Right.
or I'm going to open it for maybe some slice, or if
Yeah.
I want to hit it flat, then I'm going to have it completely flat on the back of the ball.
Right.
That's the wrong way to think about it. The spin on your tennis ball is going to depend on what direction
Right.
the racket is moving. If the racket is coming straight through the ball like this, with the strings flat at contact, so there's no vertical movement, just straight through, you're going to hit a flat ball.
Right.
If the racket's moving up,
Low to high.
Low to high, doesn't matter if the strings are flat at contact, now you have topspin.
Right. The ball is going to spend about 5 milliseconds sitting on the strings, okay? And if the racket is moving during those 5 milliseconds from low to high, the ball is going to get topspin imparted to it.
Yeah.
So the way that you create, or vary the amount of topspin is going to depend on how fast the racket is moving low to high and the speed of the racket head.
So the angle of the racket face matters less than what direction the racket is moving. Contact. I'm trying to.
That's a little trickery because his racket. We'll
clip over
it looks
there.
It does.
All right. So it's in this perspective, it might be ever so slightly
It does look a little closed.
closed. Now it could be because
It probably also looks a little more closed than it actually is. We're not looking quite from the side.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a little deceptive.
So keep in mind the perspective matters. Also, at contact, has the racket flexed? It could twist. The top of the racket could twist forward.
Right.
Because it looks like he's hitting the ball.
Not quite on center.
Yeah, it's a little low in a string bed, and actually,
Wanted to
that's
see if he
probably
hits another
that's
forehand
well,
after
that's
this
probably what happens because let's keep playing this, and if I freeze after contact, it looks like he shanked it.
Right.
So
That's
it looks,
not normal.
So yeah,
Unless you have an incredible windshield wiper motion going on.
even
which
that with
even
Fed.
then, yeah, looks a little bit shanked.
So I think he caught, that might not be the best one. That one he
that
shanked
one
too.
is also a shank. Federer tends to shank a lot in practice, for sure.
This one should be clear where it's flat.
Of course, we can't get it to
here's
pause
the,
exactly at contact.
I'm gonna fire myself as trying to freeze this properly.
It's too bad YouTube doesn't let you go frame by
Well,
frame.
whatever. This is
Kinda
after
random.
contact, and
Yeah.
you can see it's
And it's certainly closer
yeah.
to vertical.
One more time. Nope.
No.
Flat though. Looks pretty.
It looks, there
Oh,
you
look
go.
at
Look at
that.
that. They are right.
That is just straight skills.
That looks flat to me.
Yeah, that's flat on the back of the ball. The ball is basically in the middle of the string bed there. So
Right.
this ball is going to have some topspin on it. It's a little bit flatter, I would say,
Yeah.
this ball than the ones he was hitting previously. Obviously, the ones we looked at before, he was shanking.
Yeah. Now let's address one other thing there, which is sometimes you hear from people, well, a pro will hit differently in practice than in a match. They'll be more aggressive with their hitting in a match, and that might change their technique. No.
Yeah.
They hit exactly the same in practice as they hit on match day, and I think that is evidenced by, when there's millions of dollars on the line, you don't change your technique during practice from when you actually go out on court. You're practicing exactly what you're going to do during the match.
Yeah.
So I think you'll expect to see those exact same type of shots in practice and during a match.
Yeah, your technique's not gonna change. You're not gonna switch your grip or something
Right.
like that. I mean, the whole point of practice, particularly when these guys are warming up and they're gonna be on court in a minute,
Right.
they're not gonna be experimenting and then
Right.
they have to go out and execute suddenly.
Right.
So
Sure.
we have a couple questions in chat. We have Tennis Chick was asking, when going down the line, should you try and hit slightly on the side of the ball to keep it in the court? And I'm going to go over to the dry erase board. And this is, we've got a little scribbling up here from the Wimbledon webcast. And this is we've been doing this mini series with directionals. And this is a term, I like this explanation for how you should change the direction on an outside ground stroke. Let's say this is us down here. This is Paul Wardlaw's term, and what he says is that this is a 90-degree change of direction. And what that means is, let's say you get this outside backhand, you are going to hit down the line, but you're going to do it in a way where the ball moves straight through the court and forms a 90-degree angle right there. So that's 90 degrees. So that's why it's called the 90-degree change of direction. And that makes you hit, that makes the change of direction on that outside ground stroke a higher percentage play. If you were aiming for, let's go with the red marker, a little bit closer to the sideline, then, this is way more prone to error. So thinking I need to hit through the baseline, that 90-degree change of direction is going to make it a higher percentage play. Now, the one disadvantage of doing this, I would say this should be adhered to more strictly the further you get to the sideline. But let's say you get an outside ground stroke right here and you hit this 90-degree change of direction. Now you're sending the ball right down the middle of the court, and that's obviously not what you're looking for. That's not super effective. So in that instance, you might want to be a little bit more ambitious and go for this target, or maybe even closer to the corner. Certainly, this could be this distance here from the sideline and the baseline could be 5 feet, high percentage target. But the 90-degree change of direction is a nice way to think about it. Particularly the further you get away from the center of the court, that's sort of the high percentage play when you're making the low percentage play, if that makes sense. So credit to Paul Wardlaw for the nice terminology there, the nice language for, kind of wrapping your head around this. Another question.
Yeah, let's take this next question from Romulo from the chat.
Okay.
And his question is about grips. When hitting a volley or a one-handed backhand, I should use a continental grip, but what he's wondering is how exactly is the hand positioned in that continental grip? Remember, the continental grip is where the index knuckle and the heel pad are going to be on the second bevel of the racket.
You can't see that. Here's
so it's like you're holding
for
a hammer.
Right, yeah, hammer. Basically.
And should the hand be closed like a fist, or should you be a little more spread out with the fingers?
Well, you can see my fingers are slightly spread out here.
Okay.
I would do it something like that.
And that's how
like
you would hold the racket for a volley. Or
I wouldn't
for a
hold it like
slice.
this. This is real sort of. I mean, you could hypothetically. This seems a little stiff. Yeah, ham-fisted. I mean, just you can open up your fingers a little bit. I got a little bit of space in there. I would step back and say I wouldn't use a continental for a one-handed backhand. I would use an Eastern backhand where your index knuckle and heel pad are basically on the top bevel. So here's the top. You know, this would be from your perspective, bevel number 1, the top of the handle, and you just put your index knuckle and heel pad up there. I can do it reverse for my lefty one-handed backhand. You can get further around if you want to, more extreme. But I think a continental is not ideal for a one-handed backhand. Good for a slice. You're getting a slice backhand, but for the topspin, I wouldn't use that. I wouldn't use that grip. Charles is asking about my shirt. Yeah, I was the ref for my buddy is a diabetic, and he started a charity dodgeball tournament. Dodgeball is obviously fun. You get to peg people.
Dodge, dip, dive, something, and dodge. What are the 5 Ds of
dodge?
dodgeball?
You know what's hilarious is that this is a dodge, dive, dip, duck, and dodge.
Yeah.
So obviously they say dodge twice from the movie Dodgeball.
Yes, of course.
There's a newscast. This was last year. We had to get up. I was the head ref, so it was me and some other people on the news at 6 a.m. explaining to live on air.
Right.
And I'm explaining to the anchor how to play dodgeball. And here you take the ball. If you peg them, then they're out. If they catch it, then you're out.
Right.
And I was this close to being out. Now remember, I can't remember. I think her name was Elise.
Ds.
I was so close to saying the 5 Ds of dodgeball, and then I wussed out, and I was so disappointed afterwards.
That's too bad.
That would have
Should
been
have done it.
perfect live air to.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next emailed in question, and then Charles will get to your question in just a minute. This question from, well, let's see. I don't know who it's from. I guess it's anonymous. Let's go to Colby's question. Okay. I know this belongs in the Wimbledon webcast, but with the amount of people there, it's hard to get a chat box question answered. After seeing Racket go down today and other big names struggling through early rounds, do you see this Wimbledon as the beginning of a new time where Grand Slams will not necessarily be dominated by a couple big name players? And some people are calling the Mahut-Isner match the greatest match ever played, but I think these people are, confusing the word greatest and longest. So, what do you think about both of those things? Number one, are we entering an age of Grand Slams that will not be dominated by a couple top guys? And was Isner-Mahut the greatest match ever, or was it just the longest?
I'll start with the Mahut and Isner match. I think it was the longest. It was very enthralling. I mean, there was a lot of drama there, but you're still talking about a first round match,
right?
Where versus arguably the two, the greatest player ever.
Yeah, I think that
Rafa.
Some element of what makes a match the greatest of all time, whatever sport it might be in, is going to be what's on the line.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it
the beginning of the tournament? Is it the
right? It's like saying a baseball match can be one of the greatest of all time if it's not during the World Series, and I'm just not convinced of that. Or a basketball match can be one of the greatest of all time if it's not during the finals. Maybe a conference championship I could see, but
yeah,
I just don't know how you get a game to be one of the greatest of all time without something being on the line like a final or a semifinal.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we also place more stock rightfully on high level, a high perform, playing well, but in a pressure situation, in a big moment.
Sure.
At the pro level, a lot of guys can play great in the first round.
Yeah.
Can you play great in the final where there's pressure,
Sure.
You're playing a much more worthy opponent. So,
right. Like I think Game 7 of this year's NBA Finals was certainly, one of the greatest games of all time. I thought it was an excellent game. I thought it was great.
Do you watch?
I watched a
I'm
fair
kidding, I'm
amount,
kidding.
and I thought it was worthy. I thought actually the entire series was worthy.
It was a very good series. It was a very good series. I
and
agree.
But that's because of the rivalry between the teams. It's because
Yeah,
of
it's the
what was on the
oldest
line.
rivalry.
It's because of who was playing.
Yeah.
All those types of things factor into it more than simply, it was a long match.
Sure. No, I think you hit the nail on the head there.
And I think who's playing, the quality of the players. John Isner's a great. He's no Rafa. He's no Fed.
He's not the GOAT.
And those are going to be the type of guys who create the greatest matches of all time. Or, a McEnroe or a Sampras or Agassi.
McEnroe, Borg, something like that.
Sure.
To go back to the earlier question about the 1 to 3 big names, I don't think so yet. I mean, you're still going to get Rafa and Fed. I mean, there's always going to be upsets here and there. I mean, we're in an era of extreme stability.
Right. I agree.
Given Federer and Rafa. So when those guys get later on in their career and retire, you would expect other guys, the people winning is not going to be as sort of homogenous,
right?
At the very top of the game. But I mean, 30 years ago, you had it was relatively homogenous. I don't know if I like the word homogenous. I guess it works, but it was very you had a couple guys doing most of the damage because the game wasn't nearly as deep 30 years ago as it is now.
I agree.
But we'll see how it plays out in a couple of years.
Even though I think the game is deeper now, you still expect Fed and Rafa to meet in a final no matter what at this point. And if they don't, somewhere along the line, someone got upset.
I think what's true is if you didn't have Federer and Rafa, you'd have a lot of different guys winning majors. It'd be a lot more.
Right. If Fed and Rafa were not around, you would see Roddick and Tsonga and like all these other people in finals that you don't expect
would
to
have
see.
him,
Murray,
Djokovic,
etc. Soderling.
Well, I think interestingly, I think Soderling probably has the best chance outside of I don't know if between Soderling and Murray maybe. I mean, Soderling's got a great shot at winning majors. I really like on the men's tour offense versus sort of variety and defense. Murray has the offense, but he doesn't use it like he should, in my opinion.
I mean, it's also the same thing. Think about if Rafa weren't around. I think Fed would have 22 Grand Slams and he'd be an Olympic gold medalist in singles.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's good that there's some depth.
Although James Blake beat him in the 08 Olympics.
Well, that's true. But I wonder if the looming specter of Rafa had anything to do with that, or if maybe Fed doesn't think about that kind of stuff.
I mean, Rafa's definitely dented Federer's trophy case, but then again, Federer's dented a lot of other guys' trophy cases, so it's hard to sort of nitpick there. Biggie Backhand had a fitness-related question. What sort of fitness drills are the best to focus on in terms of improving one's game? Are you looking for mobility, explosive strength? Bulking up. We've sort of addressed some of this, which was what Biggie Backhand got to in the end of his question. There's one I've said before. I'm going to repeat it because I think it's a good one. This will help you. If you have access to a treadmill,
Hit the treadmill.
Well, no, but put it on like 3 miles an hour or 3.5. I mean, I'd start on a lower speed and side shuffle one way. This is how I demo. Well, you can't really see it because you can sort of see it with the plates there. Not really. You side shuffle one way. This is, my feet side shuffling one way, and then you'll turn the other way and side shuffle the other, and walking in between. And that really helps your foot speed. If you keep your feet real wide apart when you're on the treadmill, your feet are going to become much quicker. I love that drill. Very easy to do. Looks a little weird on the treadmill, so you might want to wait till the gym clears out a little bit. But it's a great drill. I do it every single time. Basically, I go to the drill and do cardio because it's just your foot speed is so it stays quick even when you might only play once a week or twice a week. So it's a great way to really raise the overall level of your game, even though you might not be playing, because footwork is just so crucial. The other. Actually, this might, I might hold off on this next statement because I think it relates to another question we have later on.
Okay.
The one thing I will finish with this is Paul Goldstein's advice. We interviewed him recently. Let me pull that interview up, and post it in the chat for you, Biggie, and then we'll embed it for everybody else in the chat below. This is actually going to take me a minute to pull up. But what Goldstein said was, you're not just trying to train to be a tennis player, you're training to be an athlete. You're training to be in shape.
Yeah, we don't have sound on there. So.
It doesn't. I'm just going to post it so he can look at it on his computer after this. But he says just train to be an athlete. So you don't necessarily need specific drills. You just need to be in really good shape. That means certainly your agility. Using that side shuffling drill is going to get your feet quick.
Yeah.
Sprints are good. Suicides on court, but a lot of ab work is good. I love the medicine ball is one of my favorite. We've got a medicine ball over there that I stole from your girlfriend,
awesome.
which was very. Tell her she cannot have it back.
I think she can have it back.
So yeah, here's the Goldstein interview. Give me one more second, just paste it in. But that's So there's a number of things you can do. The answer might have been slightly unfocused in terms of specifics, but that side shuffling one is great, and then you can listen to the Goldstein thing that I just pasted in. All right. So what's
you want to go to the next question?
Sure.
Colby has two questions.
Okay.
The second one is, my next question regards balance.
Hold on. Before you get to that, where's the URL enable URLs? You can do it in chat, right?
Is that not?
It was
okay. Yeah. Sure. I will enable links there.
Good.
Go ahead and repost it.
All
Okay.
right.
So the next question from Colby. My next question regards balance. And before you say work on footwork, believe me, I have. My footwork and recovery is okay, but I always feel sluggish and sloppy when I run up on a low, short ball. Do you have any tips or drills to increase, balance and quickness?
All right. This is leading in. This is perfect. This was another interview. This was with Jimmy Arias, who I believe made it as high as 5 in the world. I'm going to post this one in 2, and he's not a big guy, so he had to rely on his movement and sort of guile to win him matches. What he said, and I'm posting this thing in the chat right now. Whoops, wrong one. All right, There we go. Posted it in. He said, when you're moving to the tennis ball, focus on keeping your core stable and upright. Okay. So in other words, you don't want to be leaning over or leaning back or side to side to get to these balls. And if you're up that and you can't reach for the ball, you have to move your feet to get there, and your feet are going to move to get you to.
Yeah. It's something that basketball players focus a ton on. If you watch defense in basketball, they have really ends, and they really get the into defending when they're trying to block someone out.
Yeah. So the
same type of thing.
So Colby, I would just say, you get a short ball if you say to yourself, I'm not allowed to lean over, then you're going to have to move your feet and get up to those balls. Now, last week, we diagrammed, actually, to go back to this Goldstein. These interviews I did for this Thanks USA charity is actually a gold mine, because those guys have some fantastic
tips,
advice. So I referenced it last week. I'm doing it again. If you want a specific drill, this is the Goldstein interview. I diagrammed this one last week. I'll do it again. It's a dead ball drill, which means that you have a partner just tossing you tennis balls, but your partner would be here with a basket of balls. Apologize in advance for
That's a nice basket of balls there.
Well, I minored
you
in
did
art.
Go to,
I minored in art.
I thought you minored in art or something.
I know, and I think it's pretty clear. I got an A in my stick figure drawing class. So you will be, Colby, we'll put you here. Actually, you know what you can do is you can play a little bit back, and the dead ball is where your partner or your coach is literally going to take a ball and feed you, and you're going to be working on a particular thing. So in this instance, you're working on closing to short balls. So you would start maybe here, and your partner would feed you, a ball right around there that you would have to close on work on getting your feet set and using proper mechanics. So simple drills like this, and this is extremely simple. I mean, it seems almost painfully simple. This is a great drill, and obviously this would be a backhand for you if you're a righty. You could feed it over to the forehand side. It's painfully simple, but you can isolate exactly what you want to work on. And like I said before, in this instance, it's the footwork, and I would just do that. I would just get a bunch of balls tossed to me. You can go back. You can set up, a cone that gives you a reference point. This is what my cone looks like. And so you can move to the ball, get to the ball, and then close back around the cone. And that'll just allow you to isolate your footwork. So that's a simple but very effective drill. You can also have your buddy. You can start back at the. I was actually doing this with my dad last week, because my dad on the forehand side, his backhand slice is pretty money. He's got that crafty slice over there. So his backhand approach shot slice is good, but on the forehand side, he sometimes doesn't space himself properly. He'll get too close, or he'll pull across the ball. He'll get up to it, but then his weight will kind of pull him to the side as opposed to through it. So drills like that will allow you to to correct that. And what I was doing with him was I was on the other side of the court just feeding him short balls. So you can do that too. I mean, there's a bunch of ways you can slice this. Let's clip. Can you clip back to the?
I'm not sure what just happened there, but my web browser window just exploded.
Can you clip back to the dry erase board real quick? Because I just want to make a quick announcement that I am going to be launching a drawing class starting next week. Yeah, and I just wanted to sort of, show you.
147 for a
it's
year?
not. I think with that kind of quality, you gotta raise the price.
Okay. Yeah. No, I
so,
can see that.
yeah,
sure.
send me an email if you want to.
Education is expensive. I mean,
especially that kind of quality.
bottom line.
Yeah. So let's okay.
Shall we move on to the next question? Okay. The next question is, hi, Will and Adam. I have a strategy question regarding the Isner-Mahut epic. Having seen a lot of the final set, I couldn't help thinking, particularly towards the end of the second day's play, that perhaps Mahut missed a trick. Given that it was beginning to look more and more likely that fitness would be a deciding factor, and Isner appeared to be really struggling, wouldn't it have made sense for Mahut to try to lengthen the rallies on return, where he can safely try new things without too much risk? But with Isner serving brilliantly, Mahut was basically not able to get the ball back into play a lot. So I thought he might say to himself, okay, anytime I'm at 30 love or better on serve, I'm going to take the opportunity to move Isner a little bit and make him run.
So when you get up in your service games,
right,
move him around a little bit and try and take his legs away.
Yeah. So is that a good idea?
Is the first part.
Well, I think that's pretty much what was asked.
Okay,
and then there's some commentary after that.
Yeah, I would say, given the nature of that match, no. It's all sort of context. If you're talking about the first set or the second set,
right?
Sure, move your gut. Test your opponent's fitness.
Right.
Try and take his legs away. So later in the match, the serve's not there. He might not be quite as on balance for ground strokes where you stretch him. But where a couple loose points and the match is over, that's not an appropriate situation to be doing that.
Right. I think that both of those guys in the fifth set were, given what they said in their post-game interviews, post-match interviews rather, they were so focused on just staying alive game to game. I think that it probably would have been a mistake for them to start fiddling with I'm going to try something new here. I'm going to run him a bit. I think Mahut was content to just try to stay even. Both of them were serving great. Both of them were returning mediocre.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that you'd want to take that risk when there's so much on.
You wouldn't want to take that risk.
You just want to win. You want to get through your game, and you want to wait for an opportunity to break your opponent.
Yeah, where you literally only need to win a couple. I mean, Isner was already gassed. I mean, if I was sort of playing the, that was the one thing I was surprised about, why Mahut wanted to end the stop when it got dark that second day. Isner wanted to keep playing. If I was Mahut, I'd strongly consider playing because Isner was tired. I mean, he was barely moving. So if you could get a couple of his serves back in play, which is certainly a tall order,
Right.
and certainly with the light being dim, it'd be hard. Although Isner's RPMs were down,
Yeah.
that, then you might be able to just end the match real quickly, and that's where you have the fitness.
But I think that's also a point that, a rec player can take out of that as well. Even so late in the game where it was such a tough match for those guys, they weren't trying to pull the trigger. They weren't trying to do fancy things. They were playing percentages. They were keeping the ball in. They were holding their serve.
Yeah.
And they were waiting patiently for an opportunity to exploit. And Isner waited very patiently. I think he had 4 match points, one of which he converted on, but like 4 or 5 maybe match points over the course of 100 and something games. I mean,
it's incredible.
That's patience right there, but in the end, it paid off for him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, basically, I think if you're taking away sort of what, how do I apply this when I hit the court? If it's in a a pressure situation, and a couple points here or there are going to lose you or win you a match, that's where you should just sort of buckle down and take care of business, and not necessarily try to do something a little bit more cute, like tire someone out a little bit, or that's part of a broader strategy. If you've been using a strategy over the course of an entire match where you're going corner to corner, using that Agassi method we talk about in DNO, and that's working for you, and it's tiring out your opponent, by all means keep doing that. But I wouldn't sort of get to this point and say, okay, he might be tired, now I'm going to switch my strategy and try something else.
Stick with what works.
You got to dance with the girl that brought you.
Dance with the girl that brought you.
Yep, and I'm going to leave it there.
All right. Let's move on to the next question then.
There was a quick question in the chat about for someone who's less physically fit, one-handed or two-handed backhand, which is preferable. That's I don't know. I've never really thought about it in that context. Two-handed backhand, you don't have to be as strong to handle pace, and you can just handle balls just generally better because you got 2 hands on the racket. But on the flip side, your footwork maybe needs to be a little bit more precise because your reach isn't as great. The one-hander, you have a little bit more range. So, is when you say fitness, does that mean your foot speed and your endurance? Does it mean how strong you are? I mean, there's a number of things that factor into that. Makes it a difficult question to answer. So I don't know if I have anything wildly sort of insightful to say. I think that the bigger question or bigger issue, if fitness is an issue, that's the thing you take care of. You
hit the gym,
yeah, exactly.
hit the treadmill, jog around the block.
Yeah,
all those kinds of things. Yeah.
You'd be amazed. 20, 30 minutes a day, it goes a long, long way.
It does, absolutely.
It's
all just about doing more than the other guy. That's a lot of times that's all you have to do.
Endurance and foot speed looks like the issue. Literally, if you spend 30 minutes in the day working on endurance and foot speed, I mean, you're going to be so far ahead of other ruck players. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's close.
Right.
Sometimes I feel like I don't necessarily always recognize it as much because I exercise a lot and I play guys who spend a lot of time on court and spend a lot of time in the gym.
Right.
But it does become very noticeable when I hit with guys who don't regularly exercise because they're gone like that.
Sure.
After 3 games.
Yeah.
So it makes a huge difference. And that would be to go back to that Mahout, sort of isn't a question of
the
fitness.
The other thing is,
is try and take that away. Like,
sure.
If you know someone is physically not all there, then absolutely move them around the court.
Here's an example. We were just doing this strategy mini-series. Think about it this way. If you have superior fitness, if you can run for a couple hours, not the entire time, but if you can keep up your speed over the course of 2 hours, say, right? You can use SWAT then to change your strategy because, how strictly should you adhere to directionals? Well, if you are incredibly fit and you are okay with, either say moving the ball around or you just want to play high percentage, keep, playing the high percentage shot every single time will lengthen rallies. You won't be missing and then you can run around. You can run your opponent around and your opponent will get tired. So you can use your fitness level as a tool in that SWAT
Yeah, fitness is
toolbox
absolutely a weapon.
to just change the strategy that you use to play someone and lengthen points out, and you'll win because the other guy will just get tired.
Charles, are you asking me how much I work on fitness personally, or just generally? I'll monitor the chat. Yeah, we're going to be releasing. This is just going to be free. Fit, but this is. I'm talking about our thing with Jan. Jan is the 2008 and 2010 Washington Post Coach of the Year. We did an interview with him at one of these pro-ams. Played on the Cameroon's Davis Cup team. He's a great player.
He's got great footwork too.
And that was the focus of our. We did an on-court lesson with him and some of his kids, and he just talked about his sort of footwork routine.
Right.
So when that stuff comes up, definitely watch that, because we talk about how footwork becomes a weapon, how you use it to cut down on time.
Yep. And also injury prevention.
Yeah, injury prevention is huge, and also how to just use your footwork to make your opponent move even more.
Yeah, that's coming up. We'll be releasing that in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that'll be after Wimbledon.
Something like that.
Yeah, a week or two probably. But that's a great series there.
All right, the last question, we have about 10 minutes here. The last question that was emailed to us ahead of time.
Yeah, so this is the
If you
last
guys have
one.
any other questions in chat, go ahead and get them in now. This question's from Thomas. I have a question about the racket drop. Does the racket drop come naturally when you are training the serve, or do you have to learn how to do it? And if so, how do you learn how to maximize your racket drop? First of all, let's talk about what is the racket drop. What does it facilitate?
The racket drop is where the racket is dropped.
You want to go demo it over there?
I can't really. I mean, you know what I should just do is pull up a picture of it.
Okay. You can pull up Fed serving.
Yeah, why don't I do that? So we'll show you exactly what. Let's see.
That's returning
serve. Wait for
There it
is.
is.
All right, here we go.
This is Federer warming up his serve, so I don't think his racket drop is quite as deep as it normally is.
I think
Go ahead and take a look
give me
here.
1 second to freeze this properly.
Well, we'll just click
So,
over there and take
okay,
a
so
look.
I'm a little bit past the racket drop. He's a little casual because you can tell he's warming up. This is. He's got
You
some
can
ball.
see that racket drop
This-
is straight down.
This is his racket drop. The racket's straight down behind his back. He's fully pushed off his legs. He'd be jumping. He's not jumping right now
because he's warming up.
because he's warming up. But this is what the racket drop looks like, and we talk about this, of course, in our serve fundamentals videos.
Go ahead and play the serve through so people can see how the racket drop reaches. How the racket ends up pointed straight down. The question is, does that come naturally when you are practicing your serve? So, Fed's going to bring the racket up. Now he hits the trophy pose right here. Then the racket drops down, points straight down at the court
he
before
jumped
going
into
back up
that
to
one
contact.
a little bit more. And the question is, does it come naturally? For a lot of people, it doesn't. A lot of people think of a serve, they're thinking of a linear motion, kind of like a throwing motion.
Yeah.
And so they never quite get to the racket drop. It might get, close somewhere, watch out, somewhere like around here.
Sure.
But you're not going to get it straight down like you need to.
Remember, the last time you did that, you hit the monitor. So
Well, I'm improving. My skill set is developing as I drill myself.
Right.
I put myself through a rigorous drill regimen for these webcasts. So the racket drop, not natural for all people. The way you figure out how to get to the racket drop, this is ideal with a video camera, is you go to an open field somewhere, make sure no one's around, ideally with an old beat up racket you're not going to use, and you throw it straight up into the air.
Okay.
And that's going to get you to the racket drop, because now instead of this motion where I'm throwing linearly, got it? All
Okay,
right.
linearly.
I'm throwing straight up, which is sort of the first part of the serve. I mean, you
Okay.
can kind of think of the serve as up first, then forward. It's kind of a combination of the two.
Yep.
So if you think, I want to get to the racket drop, well, think I need to throw this racket straight up in the air, and that's going to do it for you. And again, you can videotape yourself, and that should make it.
Yeah,
very-
videotaping yourself is huge. I mean, you can be your own coach if you have a video camera.
Yeah, I mean, I would
It's definitely
highly,
worth the expense.
Absolutely.
Or pick up an XLM camera like we use.
Yeah, the Exlums we have, which we used not this last Indian Wells, but the year before.
Pull up an XLM clip on YouTube there and sort of show people. The XLM is a camera that's made by Casio.
So so if you clip over the screen.
And basically it does everything.
Wow. This is a big jump. So I searched for Roger Federer forehand. This is one of our videos. I didn't realize it had 350,000 views already. But this is just the Exelum, and this camera costs $300.
Right. The resolution is not super amazing, but the Exelum will shoot still photos, nice looking still photos if you want to take it on, vacation with you. But it'll also
cool
shoot
annotations I got in there.
It'll also shoot full high def, normal speed video, and then if you want, it will also shoot slow motion video at a reduced resolution. But this is some of the slow motion video that you can get using an Exelum, and it's great. It's the size of a very small SLR camera. It's a really great investment. Yeah, why don't you go grab one and show people what it looks like. But even though it's a reduced resolution, you can still obviously see a lot of information.
Well, you can see everything.
In these Federer clips here, you can see exactly what Federer is doing. There's no mystery here.
Yeah, everything a club player needs, the Exelum is going to do. I mean, you don't need HD slow-mo to see what your hitting arm position looks like.
Sure.
So here's...
Right.
That's
what the Exelum looks like. It is not a big camera. It's certainly a camera that if you bought it, like I said, you could take it on vacation with you. It's a great camera to take still photos with, but it's also a phenomenal tennis tool.
I mean, it doesn't look heavy duty at all, but this is a great one. EX FH20, I believe, is the.
Yeah, is it the F? I thought there was the EX F1. I think is the one that we have.
But that's FH20.
Oh yeah, we do. It's the EX-FH20. Pretty awesome tool. You should definitely pick one of these up if you're looking for something to film yourself with.
250 to 300. I think it's 300, Charles. But regardless, $300 is great for that.
This thing, it'll shoot still photographs. It can shoot up to 40 still photographs a second. We've used it for that. This will shoot full HD video. So this is a video camcorder also, and it actually looks great. The video looks great.
It takes flash SD cards.
Right.
So you can put 8 gigs in there and get a ton of footage.
And it will shoot slow motion.
Yeah. And
phenomenal tool.
Yeah. Yeah, Charles, when we got it, it was $500-600, but that was a year and a half ago.
It's definitely cheaper.
The prices bottomed out now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I would recommend that one because it does a number of things. And invest in a tripod if you can, or a monopod, which is just sort of a pole that attaches to the top of that.
Even a small tripod. You can, if you go to Best Buy, actually, Best Buy sells. There's a product called the Gorilla Pod, which is a tripod that has 4 little stubby legs or 3 little stubby legs that are bendable, and you can use them on an uneven surface. You can use it to hook onto a fence. Just see if we can pull that up. Yeah, click back to the computer screen here.
So I'm just going to open up.
There you go. Right, that's a Gorilla Pod right there. $10. And those legs, like I said, you can put them on an uneven surface. You can use them to wrap around a chain link fence. You can put it on a bench at the court side, and it will stabilize your camera. It's very cool. $10 right there.
So that was just, Gorilla Pod, all right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, framing, that is the one thing. Framing your shot properly, if you're looking for how to do it, I would recommend you watch some of our videos because we frame it so you can see everything, but it's not like the player's tiny and then there's all sorts of space surrounding. I mean, framing your shot correctly is really, really important.
Getting the zoom right. Yeah. Okay, let's take, we got a couple minutes left here.
Okay.
First question from chat is Haru's question. He just uses old balls, a big bucket of old balls for his serve, to practice his serve, which leads to problems because in a match you're using new balls, so you tend to overhit, I guess. I'm guessing, Haru, and he's wondering if there's an alternative. Do you use pressureless balls, or how do you overcome that?
I mean, there's not sort of a silver bullet here that takes care of that question.
Do you just have to, buy new balls?
Yeah, I mean,
if you're going to practice your serve.
I mean, I would just use decent balls if that's an option. I mean, I wouldn't go out there and keep buying new balls because that's ultimately your serve is not going to come down to in a match. Shoot, I shouldn't have practiced with dead balls. Now I can't execute my serve. I would, if your technique is sound, you can make an adjustment after a game to put a little bit more spin on it. or take some pace off, or there's a number of things you can do. So my first thought would be if your serve is going long, put more topspin on it. If you're dumping it in the net, maybe put more topspin on it. Make just small adjustments to see to see if you can get it in. Drop the pace. I mean, there's a million things you can do there. Be a little bit more conservative with your placement. But make sure if the technique is sound, then you'll be able to do that. So that would be my. I don't think it's so much like tennis ball question, although it is annoying.
Right.
To
change the feel of the ball.
Yeah, I mean when we played in college, after the third set, if it got that far, you get a new can.
Right.
And sometimes you have to recalibrate a little bit because you're not used to the ball. After playing for it for 2 sets is dead.
Let's go to the second question. This will be the last question, I guess. Tennis for You says, I have trouble punishing high balls on my forehand side. Balls that sit up at shoulder level or higher. I hold the racket with a semi-western grip, and when I strike it, I hit it with a horizontal swing. Sometimes it goes really well, or sometimes it just hits the net or goes out. Very inconsistent.
So it goes.
So his solution, I guess, is to just let the ball drop and hit a normal ground stroke, which seems like a waste to him. So, what are your tips for hitting a high ball, punishing a high ball?
Well, first, I'd want to know exactly where you're, when you're saying you're trying to catch it high, does that mean way up here, or does it mean more shoulder level?
And how deep into the court are you? Are you up at net where you should be trying to punish that high ball, or are you back at the baseline and the ball's bouncing up above your shoulder?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that makes this answer a little bit difficult is that you're hitting it both long and in the net.
Right.
So you're kind of got a spectrum of just, like you said, inconsistency.
Right.
There. I mean, I would, with a classic technique or windshield wiper technique, it looks like when I strike it with a horizontal swing.
Which sounds more classic.
Yeah, it sounds more classic. I would, the big problem here, the most typical problem is trying to blast it. Is just, I have a short ball, I'm going to dominate
Overhitting.
Yeah, overhitting it, exactly. Hit a decent shot. Here's what I would recommend is, I think I can demo this. We'll see if this works. A lot of people will move up to the ball and it's sitting right there and they're just going to swing as hard as they can, and then they end up with that error. What I would recommend instead is get a little bit more of a moderate swing speed, something you can easily control, and something you can be consistent with, and aim for a nice sized target in one of the corners. Nothing too aggressive. Now, when you slow your swing speed down, you might be saying, well, I'm going to lose the pace. How do I be aggressive with that? Well, if next time you do this, space yourself so that when the ball bounces, you can be moving forward and through the ball as you hit. So that's going to take some ball judgment. Obviously, you want to make sure you catch it when it's higher in the strike zone, so you take the net out of play a little bit. But as opposed to sort of running up, setting, and then taking a cut like that, move in a way, maybe delay yourself getting up to the ball so that you can be through the ball and moving forward. And that way your body's momentum forward is going to add that extra juice to the ball, even though you're not swinging incredibly hard. You have a nice, a moderate swing speed. You're being aggressive, but not overly aggressive. But your momentum forward is what is going to add that extra pace to the ball, so you can get, that aggressive shot, but also a little bit more consistency. So that's what I would recommend. First, if you're wondering how do I practice this, I would get a buddy or to feed you just some short balls so you can groove the technique, basically stationary, and be hitting your spots. And then I would add in a little bit of movement where I'm taking a couples, I'm closing, and then I'm judging the ball and spacing myself properly, and then closing and moving through it. And obviously the added benefit of that is you can continue closing and get set for the volley. The key here is with the short balls, it's not time to hit a winner. Sometimes it is. Other times it's, here's my target I'm going to hit that. I'm going to close the net, and I'm going to put the next volley
so
away.
don't feel too pressured to end a point early and
Yeah,
take a little bit off
exactly.
it and then expect to win the point because you've gone on offense effectively.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, remember, if you are pressuring your opponent and you are on offense, that means he's on defense.
Right.
So you don't want to lose the point by making an error because you've let him off the hook. So force him to come up with a huge passing shot, a great, an amazing shot if he's able to do it. Then you clap your hands and you put him in the same spot next time. And if he does it over the course of a match, too good. Most people aren't going to be able to do that.
Right.
So, just little, I guess you would say maybe a slightly more conservative play while still trying to be aggressive,
right.
if that makes sense. So I hope that that answers the question precisely.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up. Hour and 5 minutes there on the webcast.
Cool. All right. Well, with that, Charles asked real quick, how long would it take to teach you a fundamentally sound?
To teach me a fundamentally
You're pretty
sound
close.
serve.
I mean, I think of all your strokes, the serve is pretty much there.
Yeah.
I don't think it would take very long.
Yeah.
Adam's problem this is
my one problem. I'm excited.
Adam's main problem.
Right.
There's many problems.
Yeah, sure.
This is relevant though to the previous question about trying to overhit. Adam gets up there and Adam's got a real live arm, and Adam can basically hit 120 miles an hour with just his arm, which is irritating because I can't hit 120 miles an hour with a full full motion. So he'll get up there and just try and hit as hard as possible. So there's not too much subtlety in Adam's serving
not a whole
game.
lot of subtlety in my game.
So that would be the thing we'd work on.
Yeah.
But the technique is pretty much,
It's not bad.
I think it's pretty good.
It has its moments.
I think it's pretty good. So might be a couple things here and there we could shore up.
I'm no Will Hamilton when it comes to the technique.
Well, and I'm no Adam Sminsky when it comes to raw power. So we'll have to do some Captain Planet and sort of combine our powers somehow.
You know what always frustrated me about Captain Planet? I don't know if I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this because this is like
I've talked about.
This is a real gripe of mine about Captain Planet. Okay, first of all, if you're there were the 5 kids, right? Earth, water, wind, fire, and then there was heart, which was questionable on its own.
Is that there were 5 of them?
There were 5.
Okay.
And I always thought heart was questionable because that just made no sense. But the kids would always get whooped on just repeatedly by the bad guy until finally at the end of the episode they decided to combine their powers and they would summon Captain Planet and then they would win, right? So wouldn't you kind of just like by the end of like the 50th time this had happened to you, why not just summon Captain Planet right off the bat? Why bother trying to defeat the bad guys on your own? Think about it. Did Captain Planet ever turn them down when they asked him to do something?
It's a story arc, man.
I know.
That would have ruined my childhood if it had been that simple.
Think about that, the next time.
Right. Well, on that highbrow.
This is
note,
premium, so we get to just riff on things that bother us.
Haru says in the chat, Captain Planet did have a very nice mullet. It was a silver mullet, wasn't it?
It's true. All right.
All right. Well,
on that note.
On that note, guys, we're going to sign off. Please send us questions. Premium_webcast at fuzzyyellowballs.com for next week's next week's webcast. I do want to say before we go, Joel, he has been on me to get the questions for the last couple webcasts up. I've been a little bit slow doing that, so I apologize, Joel. I will get those up and these as well. So I am cognizant of that fact. So with that in mind, guys, we are going to sign off. Thank you for everybody in the chat tuning in, and we will see you next Monday, 7 o'clock Eastern.
Eastern.
Eastern. I think I landed that.
7 o'clock Eastern next Monday. Thanks, guys.
Cool. See you.